Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Pots Full of Soup. I'm your host, Jared Petty. I'm joined today by...
Happy.
Happy D.
Yes, Happy D.
D is in delightful?
Yes.
Okay. Happy, what is the D for? Happy D artist.
It's an initial of my last name, which I don't give out in public. Yeah.
You have a secret last name?
It's a very secret last name.
Well,
Only my friends know it. Yes.
So you are Happy D artist.
D, yes.
Happy something D. Do you have a middle name?
No,
Oh,
I do
wow.
not. Yes.
That's amazing. All right, so you the first guest we've ever had with a mysterious last name. Now, and Happy D artist. What do you do?
Well, I'll take a wild guess. I'm an artist.
Okay, and we're surrounded by some of your work here right now.
Yes. So I do primarily oil paintings and occasionally illustrations, and it's all traditional medium. And I share my work online, and I sell my work online, and I have a YouTube channel as well and a Patreon. So I guess I'm an eclectic mix of different revenue streams of being an artist. So,
and we met at a Patreon event, actually,
yes,
right?
yeah.
Originally. But you're supported by Patreon. What's your Patreon, Happy?
My Patreon username is Happy D Artist, just one word. And basically, I share a lot of videos that give you like a glimpse into my creative process. So a lot of time lapses, occasionally some tutorials. I do like work in progress photos, color mixing tutorials. I do like a coloring contest. So it's a very interactive way for me to engage with like the art community.
And you do some of that on YouTube as well.
Yes. So yeah, I actually started my YouTube first, and then my boyfriend, who actually met one of the Patreon employees, told me like, "Hey, there's this thing called Patreon. You should check it out. It's a really good segue from YouTube." So I gave it a shot, and it's been awesome.
And your videos are wonderful. You're teaching people techniques, and you call it traditional medium. So
Yes.
that means you're not doing digital art.
Okay. Yeah, I dabbled in it for a year or so, but I really like to get my hands dirty. I think like even evolutionarily speaking, our hands are the way they are because we're supposed to be working with them and touching things and making things. So I get a lot of satisfaction from working with my hands.
And these behind you, these ladies, they're called them. I believe you called them when I came in your weird girls.
Yeah, my weird girls.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your weird girls?
Yeah, so my primary subject that I like to create art around is women, but I like to add a little edge to them. I don't ever want my paintings to look like a replica of a photograph or like a fashion, shoot. I like to add a little bit of storytelling elements and make them almost like eerie, a little mysterious, and so yeah, they end up looking kind of weird. My mom calls them weird girls. So.
And that's where you got that from?
Yeah.
So how do you instill that uncanniness? What's a technique you use to make what would otherwise be a more photographic representation into something more uncanny? How do you do that?
Well, I'm greatly inspired by just surrealism, and what I like to do is try to put the girls in a world that's like maybe like an alternate universe or somewhere where there's no gravity, there's no boundaries that are set by physics or logic or conventional society standards. So I like to give them like almost a space where anything is achievable, anything is possible. So when I put my mind into that space too, it helps me create very weird kind of unexpected ideas, and that's how I give them that kind of surreal touch.
Who are some of the people who influenced your style?
Oh, okay. Well, I love James Jean, and I love Mark Ryden. Mark Ryden is always dubbed as like the father of pop surrealism, which is the genre that I guess if you were to label my art, it would be pop surrealism. And James Jean, a very talented artist from Taiwan, actually. Well, he's Taiwanese American. He influenced me a lot, even growing up, because I was also Asian American, and just having that kind of role model really like influenced me deeply. And like both of these artists, their work is very, very. I can't even describe it. It's like really hard to use words to describe them, but they transplant you into a world and make you feel things that are not even in the spectrum of normal human emotions. And that's what I really like about their work, is they kind of make you feel like you're in another dimension.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So we're going to move forward into what the first question that's kind of standard for every guest until I decide to change it up. So Happy, tell me about somebody you're thankful for.
Hands down, the person I'm most thankful for is my mom.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
your mother.
Yeah.
What's your mom's name?
So my mom's name is Lily.
Lily.
Lily
all right.
D.
Lily D. Lily D of the mysterious last name.
Of the mysterious D family.
Okay, so Lily the mysterious D.
Yeah.
But that's not. Is that her maiden name? Yeah.
Yeah, so Lily is her English name. So we're all Chinese, and yeah, so my English name is Happy. Her English name is Lily.
Oh, I was actually talking about the D at the end. Was that her maiden name?
Yes, that's actually So interesting story. Yeah, I have my mom's last name, and in Chinese culture, it's really standard for children to have the father's last name. But my mom, she's very unconventional, and she's she's a very strong, independent lady. So she made a deal with my dad that, to make it fair, if it was a boy, he would have my dad's last name. If it was a girl, she would have my mom's last name. That way they have both an equal chance. So I ended up with my mom's last name.
So you have your mother's mysterious last name.
Yeah, so my mom and I both have her maiden name.
And this is a deal. She and your dad sat down, she's like, listen here, this is how it's going to be?
Yeah.
Have you talked about this discussion with her before?
Yeah, she told me since I was young because it's so conventional for children to have their father's last name. In elementary school in China, people would address me with my father's last name and I wouldn't respond. Like my teachers would call me like first name and last name, and then they would use my dad's last name. So I didn't recognize that as them calling me. So I would often get in trouble for like ignoring the teacher when in reality they just assumed I had my dad's last name.
Now you said elementary school in China. Did you grow up in China?
Yes, I lived in Beijing until I was 7 years old.
Okay.
So I still have actual like memories of living there. Yeah.
So you were born in China.
Yeah, born and raised in Beijing.
And your parents both also from China?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And they met there?
Yeah, they met, they met in high school. I think my mom was in middle school maybe, and then they started dating in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both from Beijing or outside?
No, they both lived in smaller towns near-ish Beijing, like in northern China. And eventually my whole family moved to Beijing, and that's where I was born.
So I didn't realize you had been born in China.
Yeah.
So you were born there. You moved over here when you were 7. When did you know you were coming to America?
Oh, it's so interesting. So I'm so glad you asked that because nobody asked me that. So this sounds random, but I was a huge Michael Jackson fan since I was like 5. My dad is like the ultimate Chinese hipster, and Michael Jackson actually wasn't even allowed that time in China. It was like during the Cultural Revolution, so his music was seen as like too like rebellious or too sexy or something.
Okay.
But he was a Michael Jackson fan, so I grew up listening to Michael Jackson, and I knew Michael Jackson was American. And I was a fan since I was like 5. And around when I was 7, my mom told me like, hey, I think we're going to immigrate to the United States. And I really didn't want to go because I had to leave all my friends, my grandparents, all my extended family was in China. And that's the only world I knew. And I loved it there. And then my mom said, but it's okay. Like Michael Jackson lives in America. So if you go to America, you have a higher chance of meeting your like favorite idol.
And did this click for you?
It worked. That was the one thing that convinced me to go. Because before I was like, I refuse to leave. I'm just going to move to grandma's house and not leave.
I'm not leaving. Wait, I might meet Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Did you meet Michael Jackson?
Never. I'm so bummed. I know. Yeah. I wish I was born 20 years earlier so I would have been able to like go to his concerts and stuff. But
okay,
yeah.
so that answer leads me to 2 more questions. First, I want to ask about your dad. So at the time, your dad was a Michael Jackson fan.
Yes.
But Michael Jackson music not officially condoned.
Yeah, it's very uncommon to like Michael Jackson in China at the time.
So how did your dad get a hold of Michael Jackson music? Because this is pre-internet. We're talking here, at least pre-modern internet.
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure. My dad's so funny. He says like the music in China during that time is like very soft pop.
Okay.
Like very just romantic songs, and it's just like very. He says it's like music you listen to when you're about to fall asleep. It's like very, soothing. And then on the radio, he was listening to a radio show when he was driving, and this was the first time they ever let Michael Jackson ever let his music be played, and they played the Bad album.
Okay.
So the song Bad. And my dad was like, this is unlike anything I've ever heard before. So he said he went out and bought a tape immediately. And then soon after, they kind of limited the Michael Jackson exposure in China.
So he was kind of black marketing Michael Jackson music?
I don't know if it's officially black marketing, but yeah, he was. I don't know anyone else to this day in his generation from China who like even knows who Michael Jackson is.
So that was a really big deal for people your dad's age.
Yeah.
Were you able, could you grab music over the internet by then? I mean, did you guys have
No,
internet access
he
to
bought
do
like
that?
a cassette tape.
Just cassette tapes. Okay,
yeah. No, I mean, I'm sure there was internet, but like we didn't have any computers back then. We didn't get our first computer till like 1997 or 98 or something. Yeah.
So it'd have been right around the time the internet blew up, Napster blew
Yeah,
up, and all
yeah.
that happened. So your dad hears him on the radio. And then the lid slammed down, but he's already gotten his hand on the tape, and he becomes kind of an underground Michael Jackson fan. They use this to sell you on America.
Yes.
So let me ask you the second question. You said your mom came to you and
Yeah.
said, "Hey, we're going to move to America." How did that conversation go? What was that like? You're 7 at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you remember the first conversation, the first time you heard?
So I remember initially she said she was gonna go for like 6 months and come back. So I was okay with it. I was like, oh yeah, I'll miss you, but you know, you're gonna come back. So nothing will change. Everything is status quo. And then after 6 months, she was like, just kidding. You guys are coming to join me in America. So to this day, I'm not sure if she like lied in the beginning so that I could get the news in stages, or if she was she actually found out after 6 months that we should all move.
So had she already come over then?
Yeah. So
Rhea's on the phone, or
yeah, it was on the phone. My dad told me, my dad told me for her that we'd be moving forever.
That must have been very difficult.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, when you're young, your world is like a bubble. So feeling like knowing that I'd be going to somewhere completely different and not knowing anything to expect, it was like very frightening.
Why did your mother choose to come to America?
Just to give more opportunities for me and for her family. She was working as a tour guide before that, and so she was an English major in college. She was very fluent. So she was working with like an American tour company, and they had basically Americans who want to visit Beijing. She was their tour guide, and over the years working in that company, she met a lot of American like deans of business schools. I think she met an ambassador at the time and some really like affluent businessmen, and they all said like, you should come to America, like your English is so good and you have a very vivacious personality and it would bring great opportunities for your children. They can go to college in America. Like they sold it to her. So she was like in her 30s and decided mid-30s to switch careers.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So it's very rare that I hear someone described as having a vivacious personality.
Yeah.
Tell me about your mom's vivacious personality. What makes her vivacious?
Oh, everyone who meets her says she has a very youthful spirit. She's in her 50s, but she looks and talks like she's almost in her 20s. I feel like sometimes when I hang out with her, I feel like we're sisters. Like she's an older sister and I'm a younger sister. Yeah. She's just very like, not just bubbly, like she's very funny and she's very charismatic, and she's the type of person that will talk to someone that she just met on the train or something. Like she can spark up a conversation with strangers. You can throw her in any party and she'll like get along with everyone. And I think she has a really special way of connecting with people and making people feel comfortable. And she's never been conventional. She's not like a wallflower.
Okay.
And that's why like she's very like feisty. I like that.
So you're 7 years old. You get this news. Your mom's already in America, and you say they largely did it because she had a new opportunity to change careers in the middle of life, but also because you said it represented an opportunity for you. Now, moving from China to the United States at the time that you did, can you talk about the differences in opportunity for your life? What would that have been like if you had stayed versus coming over here? What was weighing in your mother and father's minds?
So a lot of it was kind of almost like, I wouldn't say they directly thought about capitalism, but just the fact that it was at the time, I think, I'm not too well versed on Chinese politics, so correct me if I'm wrong, but finding jobs. Finding jobs and getting into college was really competitive, and a lot of it was standardized by the government. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like at the time for them, it was like you went to college, got a degree, which was already really hard to get into, like a very small percentage, like less than 10% of people who applied for college could even get in.
Okay.
And then the government would then kind of place you in jobs after you graduate. It was not like a free market here. Like there's no small businesses, entrepreneurs. It was less common, especially for like the middle class, like we were in. So also, I think they sold her on the colleges in America are really high quality. Like obviously, we all knew about Harvard and Yale and like the Ivy Leagues, but also just the quality of education you would get here, and I think it wasn't as competitive, so you had a better chance. Like anyone could get into college.
There was a very good chance that if you worked at it, you were going to have a far wider chance. Of
Yeah,
getting,
yeah.
okay,
So like if you
maybe-
didn't have the best grades, you could still get into a relatively good college and still find a good job and grow up with opportunities. Whereas in China at the time, it was like only the top like 1% smartest, highest scoring high school graduates could go to college.
That's how they described it to you then. That was kind of the point of comparison.
I mean, they didn't describe it to me then, but yeah, like later on when I got older,
That's what you learned.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
well that's helpful. But at that time, of course, that probably didn't make a lot of sense to you. You
Yeah,
were
I
7
was
years
just like,
old.
why? I mean, I was in elementary school. Like, it all seemed the same. Like,
Yeah.
So
So you come over. Did you speak English?
no, I did not know English, and that's why I have my name.
Okay.
Happy is because I only knew Happy Birthday. So I was like, oh, Happy can be my name.
You chose your name.
Yeah.
Your mom. Was this your mom and dad's decision to let you choose your name? Or?
I don't think they had a choice. I was very sassy as a kid, and my mom was like, "You should have a regular name, like Joanna, or like an actual name, not a word." She's like, "People are gonna tease you. Like that's not a real name. Like no one's named Happy."
One of my favorite children's books from when I was growing up was a book called "In the Year of the Boar" and Jackie Robinson, which is about a young girl whose family immigrates from China in the 1940s to New York City. And the girl in that story chooses her own American name.
Oh, what was her name?
She chooses Shirley Temple because it was the only. So she becomes Shirley Temple Wong, and she chose that name because it was the only American name she knew besides Mickey Mouse. And her grandfather encouraged her not to be Mickey Mouse.
Oh, okay.
And so she went on and became Shirley Temple Wong.
She's smart. 'Cause
Yeah,
Shirley is still like a real name.
Yeah, it is a real name. It worked out pretty well for you. That's a neat book. Yeah, she ends up meeting Jackie Robinson. It's a neat story.
I was not as lucky. I
didn't get to
never
meet
met
Michael
Michael Jackson. I
Jackson.
never met him, sadly. Oh my gosh.
You did not get to meet Michael Jackson. So you came over here and you didn't speak English. You chose to be happy for
Yes.
Happy Birthday. That's fantastic. Why did your mother choose Lily?
So her Chinese name, one of the characters in her name means Lily.
Oh, that's
So yeah.
lovely.
So she got really lucky. She got lucky didn't mean something like basketball or something, you know?
Yeah. Well, I assume she'd have just gone with a different one. I don't know. I know.
Yeah, so it's
I
a really
love that
pretty name.
so
I wish
well.
I had chosen something like Rose or something. I don't know.
Do you know the Chinese word for Lily?
So it's Lian. Yeah,
Lian?
that's one of the yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah, even if she stuck to her Chinese name, it would have been easy to pronounce.
Yeah, but it's still Lily. That's what. So
Yeah.
she's Lily. You're happy.
Yeah.
You come over here together. So you haven't seen her in 6 months when you come over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you remember finding mom when you got home? Like when you came to your new home? Do you remember meeting your mother coming over?
Yeah, I remember. It was so funny because she would send me pictures and send us letters and stuff. And I remember when she was without me for 6 months. She was in graduate school, by the way. She came here to get her MBA. This was like in the South, and there was like her friend's daughter who was my age, was like in their social circle, and she like really loved her friend's daughter because I guess she missed me, and it was like almost like a really comforting to have like a young girl to be motherly towards, and I was really jealous. I was like, she ain't taking my place. So when I met her, I was like really happy to not have to deal with that competition anymore. I'm like, okay, well, I'm your main bitch now. Like, I'm back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was really relieved to see her. I was like, oh, stop bonding with this other girl.
You feared the competition.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because I'm an only child, so I was like not used to sharing my mom.
Where were you? Where was this happening?
This was like in Tennessee.
In Tennessee?
So, like,
So that's where your mom was going to school?
Yeah, southern Tennessee, deep
So
south.
you flew into southern Tennessee then?
Yeah.
Okay.
From Beijing.
From Beijing
Yeah.
to southern. Wow, that
Yeah.
must have been different.
Very different. It was, yeah. I have a mouthful of things to say about growing up in the South as a non-English speaking atheist Chinese person.
Where were you?
We were in Chattanooga, which is,
Chattanooga, okay.
by the way, that's where Usher's from, so it's a legit town.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I spent plenty of time in Chattanooga.
Oh, you
yeah.
have?
Oh yeah. I'm from North Carolina. I
Oh,
grew up in
that's
that part of the
awesome.
country, and I know Chattanooga pretty well actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, maybe we passed on the street one day. I've been through there a few
Maybe.
times, but
Man.
no. So what? Let's talk about that. You say you
Yeah.
have plenty to talk about. How long did you live in Chattanooga, Tennessee?
I lived there for like 3 to 4 years. So
Okay.
I went to I think it was first grade through third grade there. Yeah.
And that's where you learned
3
to speak
years.
English.
Yes.
So I'm kind of shocked you don't have the drawl.
I did actually for a while.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, I can do a Southern accent. I know how to do it.
Oh, there
Yeah.
it is. Okay, okay, yeah. Yeah, I don't deliberately repress mine, but I've lived away for so long that it's kind of faded. But
Yeah.
if I talk to somebody from back home, it comes back real quick.
Yeah, but if you were thrust back into that environment, you could do
It does.
it real
It comes
quick.
out real fast.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
And good golly, your mother's still going to school, or is she started a job by
Yeah,
then?
she was no. So she her career track was she wanted to be a college professor. So she started from grad school.
Okay.
So almost basically from ground zero. So she was in the process of getting her MBA, and we stayed there during that process. So she was in school. My dad was working, and yeah, I was going to elementary school in Chattanooga.
What was it like? I mean, going from elementary school in Beijing to elementary school in Chattanooga.
Okay, so I remember thinking this at the time. I was like, I think communist China's elementary school is a little less harsh than the South. I was like, is that weird? So like in China, they're very strict about your grades. You have to like have good posture, wear your school uniform, get good grades, and like be polite to the teacher. And in the South, it was like very well in my school. Maybe it's different now, probably, but very like religious and very xenophobic at the time. I was like the only. I think there was one other Asian kid in my entire school.
Okay, how many kids you think?
It was like K through 5.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, there were quite a large number of kids.
And only one other Asian student.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Wow.
And he was born in the States, so he knew English, and I was like the outsider because I was new. I didn't have any friends, and I didn't know any English, and yeah.
Was it lonely?
In the beginning, it was very lonely. It was not even lonely. I feel like it was like one step beyond lonely. It was instead of just feeling like no one pays attention to you, it's like you get a bunch of negative attention, right? So it's like you're like ostracized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you make friends?
I eventually did make friends, yeah. So I think the thing about me is I don't just like get bullied. I'm like very sassy. So in the beginning, I always like fought back if anyone ever made fun of me or teased me for my culture. So I actually was able to find a lot of friends. I think like maybe they were drawn to that like fire in me, that I wasn't just this
When you say
wallflower.
fought back, do you mean physically?
No, like I would like say something nasty back and
Oh,
I would
okay.
get in
So
trouble.
yeah.
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 I was 7.
Okay. What's the
Yeah.
first American profanity you ever learned?
Oh gosh. Probably at the time it was oh my god.
Okay.
Which is,
really?
Which was like worse than the F word
in
the South.
that place at that time. This
Yeah.
is what time was this? If you don't mind.
This was like late 90s,
Late
mid
90s.
to late 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was I remember like my teacher in 3rd grade, she was the wife of the judge
Yeah.
in my town, and the principal also very religious, and I would always get sent to the principal's office, and they would always threaten to spank me. Like they would take out this wooden paddle and like wave it in front of me and say like, if I catch you saying the Lord's name in vain again, like you're getting spanked. Because I learned English from watching TV, right?
Okay.
So I watched like Nick Jr.
Yeah.
But I also would watch movies. Like I watch action movies with my dad, and the first American movie I ever saw in theaters was Scream, by the way. I was like, yeah.
Wow, you were 7?
Yeah, I don't think like we really knew at the time of like the movie parental control ratings. Like we were like, oh, let's just go see a movie, like because none of us spoke English except
Did it
for my
scare
mom.
you?
No, it didn't, because I didn't know what was going on. Like like I didn't have enough metrics to measure like horror with at the time. I was just like, oh, this is weird. So,
Did you like it?
I liked it. Yeah. So to this day, I'm a huge horror movie buff. Like I love all horror movies.
Oh, that's really
they're
funny.
exciting for me. Yeah.
So I know we've gone down a long tangent here. I don't
sorry.
want to get, no, I'm glad. I don't want to get too far away from your mother.
Yes.
But I do want to ask you one other thing, and maybe I can loop this around to your mom and your family. You've mentioned religion several times in the last few minutes since your immigration. You talked about your atheism. You talked about the moving into an area where there was suddenly this kind of permeating church-state mix, weird culture going on.
Yes.
So that must have been very confusing for you from where you came from. How did your family deal with that? With people waving a paddle at you because you were saying what you said?
Yeah.
Or how did your mom and dad respond to that?
I think they always encouraged me to not be like the black sheep, to try just get along and don't get in trouble. And if someone tells me not to say something, just don't say it. Like don't even bother with causing trouble for yourself, is what they say.
How did you feel about that?
I mean, I agreed, but when you're young like that and you're like in the moment, like I feel like children are very honest with their emotions, and so if you're feeling stimulated some way and you you're provoked, there's nothing any adult can say to like ring in your head like, okay, no, I should calm down, be the bigger person, take the high road and ignore them. Like in the moment you're just feeling very pissed off and you feel like it's unfair. You know, you're like, I don't even know anything about any religion, period. Why am I getting bullied or harassed by like the staff of my school for something that, you know, is not kind of not my fault. Like I wasn't raised Christian because, you know, it's I'm on the other side of the ocean. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, I think they definitely tried to get me to be more like calm, follow the rules, and I just rebelled probably.
Okay. How did that work out?
I didn't get in too much trouble. I think because like I was very studious and I got really good grades. So they couldn't just peg me as like a bad student, you know. And I would never like I got in trouble for saying you know, the Lord's name in vain, but I never like fought anyone. You know, because my family, they're still a good family. They're very like educated, calm people. You know, I never like yelled at anyone or like caused physical violence. And I got good grades and I turned in my homework. So there's really nothing they could do besides scare me, you know. So,
What about for your mom and dad moving to an area with a smaller Asian population, and even smaller Asian immigrant population? What was it like for them?
yeah, so I think my mom got lucky because in her school there were quite a lot more than in my school of
Okay.
other Chinese and other Asian graduate students. So they were able to build a community in their adult world. And yeah, actually one of my friends growing up, she was the daughter of one of my mom's classmates. So I was able to have some friends outside of school as well from that tight-knit Asian
Now,
community.
were they also Chinese?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, it's even prevalent in any city, even now. Like whenever you have a very small minority in a neighborhood, they find solace with like meeting with each other, you know, because like you, after a while, like especially if you're just moved from a foreign place, you really kind of crave someone who understands you, who empathizes with you. So yeah, I think wherever we went, we were lucky enough to find a small community of people who were like-minded or came from the same background.
So there, you did get to know some other folks from China at that point, and then eventually ended up in California. How'd that happen?
Oh wow! I mean, there were many stops before California.
Were
Yeah.
these on account of your mom's career?
Yes. So we followed her wherever her next step was. So my mom, by the way, is like the main breadwinner. She's like the head of the family, which is another reason why she's my role model.
Why don't you talk about that? Well, before we
Okay.
go follow the journey, let's talk
Yeah.
about that. Let's talk about your mom as head of the family.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in America, like my dad majored in like Chinese literature.
Okay.
In college. So in America, you couldn't do anything with that degree. And he and I were not fluent in English. She was. So we followed her wherever she went. And she later just like, she flourished more in the States because she was more well equipped to do well here. And yeah, eventually, so from grad school all the way up until now, she's a college professor. We followed her and we would basically make adjustments to live wherever she needed to be. And so she was in Tennessee, and then we moved to Kentucky for her to do her PhD.
Okay.
And then eventually she found a teaching job at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks.
So you were in Fairbanks for a while.
Yeah, Fairbanks for a while.
Oh my! Now Fairbanks, that's not just Alaska. That's about as far north as you get before
It's
they
like-
stop having cities. It's about central
Yeah.
Alaska, right?
Yeah, it's central Alaska,
yeah,
so it's not like the nice southern coast. Yeah, no
Yeah.
ocean, just very cool.
You get north of Fairbanks and you're talking Barrow and places like that, tiny little towns. And
Yeah.
hamlets.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's
You're familiar with Alaska.
So, not really.
You've been everywhere.
No, I've not been to Alaska. Alaska's that's a whole other can of
But you
worms,
know Barrow. That's really
yeah,
impressive.
But that's a weird story too.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, Fairbanks is kind of the northernmost of the main cities.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Fairbanks?
I was there all throughout high school. So after that, I went to Seattle for college, and then I moved to California.
And then
so,
you moved because
yeah,
you have
many
really
stops.
been everywhere. Well, your mom did her PhD in Kentucky. You said, was she at Lexington, Louisville? Where was
Lexington.
she? Okay.
Wow, you know Kentucky.
I lived
too.
in Kentucky.
Oh
but
my gosh, we have like the same.
we've
life.
been around a lot.
Yeah,
you always
we're like soulmates.
You're gonna have to compare notes later on.
Yeah.
But so your mother, what's her PhD in?
Marketing.
In marketing. Okay.
Yeah.
And what does she do now?
She teaches marketing. She's a professor at the university in Alaska.
She's still in Alaska then.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you went to college down in Seattle, She stayed in Alaska and taught. And
Yeah.
when you moved to, okay, so now mom's really, really far away.
Yeah, she's really far.
Oh.
But to be fair, Alaska's far from everywhere.
That's a very good point.
Not much difference between here and Seattle to Alaska.
Was it hard for your mother when you decided to leave Alaska to go to school?
I think it is hard the way it'd be hard for any parent, but I don't think she ever expected me to stay in Alaska. I think she knew I wanted to GTFO as soon as I could.
So you didn't care for that Fairbanks nightlife?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Fairbanks is a great place if you're into like nature and peace and quiet. And even then, I think it wears off. Like it has a shelf life because it's such a small town. It's also very conservative. So it was like we went from conservative south to conservative north. And I just wanted to go out and experience like one of the American cities, which was kind of what was sold to me when I first moved here.
Okay,
So,
and so you finally did go to Seattle, where you entered a place where the modes of thought may be a little different than what you're used to
Very
broadly
different.
encountering in Tennessee, Kentucky, Alaska.
Yeah.
So when you got to Seattle, different way of thinking. I want to go back. Your mother's a college professor. The kind of person who decided midway through what seemed a successful career that for the sake of bettering her life and her child's life, she was going to make a radical change.
Yes.
And undergo a tremendous life-altering adventure for all three of you. So when it came to finally finding her place in a small town in Alaska,
Yeah.
did she find that fulfilling? Was that did it reach the end of the road in a place that she was happy?
I think so. So ever since she was young, when she was little and they asked what's your dream career, when they ask little kids that, she says she wanted to be a teacher. So in some way she got that gratification. And as much as she loves like shopping and cool restaurants, I think the city stresses her out. So she's able to find a lot of peace there. And actually I'm really glad that she is in a very peaceful, safe, small town environment, because she and I are both like very paranoid. We watch CSI and Law and Order. And I don't know if she'd be able to cut it in San Francisco, like.
So she prefers does she love nature?
She actually didn't that much. It's not like she hated it, but it was never like a hobby of hers to go fishing or hiking. But I think right now she really she loves gardening. She picked up gardening when she went, and she has like in Alaska, land is very cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, all real estate is cheaper there. So she has like a big yard. She has all these plants, bird feeders, and I think it's really good.
So
for
she's
her.
a gardener.
Yeah, she's a gardener.
Flowers, vegetables, everything.
Everything.
Okay.
What's funny about Alaska, because it's so north, in the summer the days are really long,
Right.
and so you get pretty much 24 hours of daylight, and maybe a few of those hours are like they look like sunset type of light, but it's light all around. So in the summer the vegetables grow huge. So she grow these like giant mutant zucchinis that are like the size of cats. And so she had a great time. Like the harvest is very fast, very like instant gratification for any vegetable fans out there. You should try growing something in Alaska.
Is she an artist?
She is not.
What was it like for her seeing you become one? How did that happen?
Oh, that's a really interesting story too. I've done art since I was little. Ever since I could remember, I would draw like characters from Beijing opera or like those Chinese soap operas where they're dressed in like the ancient costumes. I was really like seduced by the colors and the ornateness. So I would do that since I was like 3 to 5, like very young. And then growing up, I've always done it as a hobby. I don't think I ever went a few days without doing art. Ever since I was a kid. And it was my dream to be an artist. I think when I was young, I said I wanted to work for Disney, to be an artist at Disney. I didn't even know what artist at Disney means, but I just
knew you wanted to draw things for Disney.
Yeah, I knew it was a creative job, and I love Disney films. With my dad's very first paycheck, he bought me Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs on VHS. I was like I was obsessed. So then when I was 17 and it was time to apply for college, I was like, oh, I'm going to apply to art school or like apply to schools as an art major. And then my parents were like, they sat me down. They're like, okay, honestly, we're supportive of you being artistic, but like you should really think about your life now. Like now it's time to be an adult, and you should probably get a career somewhere that can, get you a job or have a good chance of getting you a job, and think pragmatically. So they were supportive of my passion, but they were very careful when it came time to pick like an actual college program. So I ended up majoring in computer science.
So you did listen to them. Okay. So
Yeah. I mean, I made a compromise, right? So at the time, they were like, oh, you should major in like business, like your mom, or maybe like law. And I mean, I had never been interested in anything like that. And I thought computers, I loved coding, well, coding with like HTML, making little websites. And I thought it could be
scripting, markup, things like that. Yeah.
Oh, not even that fancy. I was like, how do I make my scroll bar pretty? Like, it was very basic. But I thought it could be a good tunnel into computer animation, and I thought I could still get to my dream job at Disney doing computer animation. So I chose computer science with that in mind. Like, oh, maybe I could do animation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that work out?
So I took a year-long animation capstone, which is like a year-long of courses that are focused on one particular like niche. And I chose computer animation. Like I was lucky my school offered that. And by the time the year ended, I was like, I do not want to do animation.
What drove you away from animation?
It was not as like creative as I thought. It was very technical. I mean, they're creative. It's definitely more creative in my opinion than like coding an operating system, for example. But it was very, very hard. And
different kind of creativity?
It was, it was a lot of technical creativity. Like, how can I solve this technical issue? Or a lot of it was like, you would put in so many hours of work for like a few seconds of animation. And it was just like tweaking little things to get a character to look lifelike or get their movements to tell a story. And it just didn't end up being what I thought. I think like, because I grew up like drawing pictures, you know, and painting with colors. Like it wasn't the same type of gratification.
So the return was very self-evident in traditional medium visual art, whereupon in animation, hours of investment to see something render and maybe not turn out the way you thought it would.
And I think like I thought I could get like I was like, oh, I know I can't be a painter. I can't make money selling paintings, so I'll get as close as I can doing something artsy, something relatively creative. But it wasn't. Yeah,
did you ever talk to your mom about this when you were going through it, or was it difficult?
Not really. I think once I was in the program, I was pretty set on whatever career paths that, you know, the other computer science majors were on. Like I was very like convinced that I was just going to be working in tech and doing art as a hobby, because like once I got into the program, so even though I'm not doing tech anymore, like I have a lot of respect for people who do, and the type of intelligence it takes to succeed and excel in like programming is something I admire so much. And I honestly think like engineers are a very special breed of people. Like just it's the type of like sequential thinking. It's very, very unique. It's not just like people skills or learning how to manage a project, you know? So I was in that world. I actually really wanted to try my best and find a career in tech. When I stopped doing animation, when I kind of shot that dream down, I was like, well, I should still work for some tech company. Like I'm halfway through my major. I worked so hard. I've been in a basement for 2 years. Like I should really try to get a career in my major. So yeah, I mean, I was never planning on being like, okay, after I graduate, I'm just gonna quit everything. So is that why you came to
San Francisco? Because that's where programming and coding jobs were?
Yeah, I mean, I worked in Seattle for a bit, and then I moved to San Francisco because everybody was moving to San Francisco. Okay. In my social circle, everyone in their mid-20s was like, okay, I'm gonna like drop everything and move to San Francisco and try the startup thing. That was like the trend.
And so you followed that?
I followed that, yeah.
And yet here we sit in a Bay Area loft, a fabulous studio surrounded by oils and watercolors and whatever else, beautiful things.
Thank you.
And you are not a software engineer.
Nope.
What happened?
Well, I quit. So here's what happened. I was never that good to be a software engineer. If any of my friends are watching who like went to school with me, you'll know this. Like I was terrible at programming. It was just I didn't have that natural genius that I so wanted. So I actually ended up being a product manager, which is basically like you still work with engineers and you work with technical projects, but you're more like the overseer. You're more the planner for the project. So
spreadsheets, research, keeping people
emails,
on schedule,
meetings, things like that, presentations. You know the drift. So I really didn't like that either. Again, like I thought it was like a cool way for me to work in tech, but still be relatively creative, like have some sort of creative authority in some way, but it wasn't. It was just like I was everybody's assistant. Like I was assistant to like all the different teams.
It's a hard job. I have several good friends who do it. Some of whom may be watching this right now.
Yeah.
Hi, Ginger.
Yeah, it's a thankless job. It's a very hard job. And I think PMs deserve a little bit more gratitude, because yeah, it's like when things go right, you don't really get the congrats, but when things go wrong, you get all the blame. But yeah, I just also wasn't naturally cut out for it. I think I have a very awkward personality. I'm like sometimes very brutally honest. I don't know how to like put on that hat of
You
like.
seem remarkably like amicable.
Oh,
I haven't
thank you.
said anything horrible in this interview so far.
Well, you're one of the lucky people who have, or not lucky, but like for me, luckily for me, you're one of the people who happen to get along with me. I think
Oh, okay.
I'm like the type of person where some people like me and some people hate me, but I don't know how to like mold myself to make everybody like me.
Okay.
Which is something as a leader of a project or of teams you have to kind of be.
Okay.
So I always struggled with that, and yeah, I was really unhappy doing that.
So you quit.
Yeah, so I quit, and it was I think timing works out so great, because by the time I quit, I'd been working for 3 years. I had saved up some money so that I knew if I wanted to switch careers, I had a little bit of runway. I wasn't quitting with nothing, so that kind of gave me that safety net.
Yeah.
And also during that time, since moving to San Francisco, which by the way has an amazing art scene, especially for the type of art I like to do, I had just through friends of friends met this wonderful girl named Shirley. Hi, Shirley. She was curating a show for a tiny gallery in the Mission District, and she asked me to join just because, like, we were Facebook friends. She's like, oh, you do art, like, you should join. And so in that show, I sold a piece, and I was like, that was the first time in my life that anyone's ever bought artwork from me that wasn't, like, a family portrait or, like, something for them. It was, like, something I created individually, and then they liked it. So that, like, that rush, that high, like, stuck with me. And I did another show with her a few months later, and like I sold some pieces there too, and I was just like, "Whoa!" I was like,
Okay.
this is a thing."
You're just like, holy cow, people pay money for art?
Yeah, and it was.
So let's get back to mom. So your mother grows up in China, makes a successful career there, changes careers, comes over here, brings you along.
Right.
You travel all over this country. You go off to do what your parents encouraged you to do. You quit. When did you tell them you quit? When did you tell your mom about quitting? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember, well, when I was thinking about quitting, when I was contemplating it, I definitely let them know. I wasn't like, hey, surprise, I'm quitting. I was like, hey, I'm really unhappy here. I'm thinking maybe of like quitting and trying the art thing, like my dream since I was a kid. And
How did that with your mom?
She was not happy about it at first. She was like, are you crazy? Like, we put you through college, you work so hard, and you like have this resume now. You actually have like a good, relatively strong resume. You can just find another job, just find another company. Like, quit your current company, find another job, find another type of company. I'm like, no, I don't know if I'd be happy. Like, just finding another company. I think it's all going to be the same. I worked in a big company, worked in a small company. Like, I want to just try this art thing. And I'm like, I'm at this point where I'm young enough where I don't have like a family to take care of. I don't have any obligations. And it's like, it's now or never. Like, now is the time to take that risk because no one else is counting on me.
How old were you when you made that decision?
I was, 24.
24 when you decided to do that.
Yeah.
So jumping forward now, you've had a successful career. This is working out really well.
Oh, thank you.
How does your mom feel about it now?
She loves it now. She's super proud of me now, and she's always like sharing my artwork on her social media pages, and she asked me to send prints over. She like hangs them up on her walls, and even though she sometimes is frightened by them, she's like, send me the less creepy ones. But yeah.
That's funny. So tell me about that shift. Do you remember a moment where it went from, we're really scared for you, you might be screwing your life up, to, wow, I'm so proud of you, this worked out really. Did that conversation ever happen?
Oh, yeah. Tell
us about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So in the beginning, I wasn't doing that well. Like, I was running just on savings pretty much. I was barely earning any money at all. Not enough to pay even a fraction of the living costs in the Bay Area. I was just like, whatever little thing I could sell, I was really happy. I was like, oh yeah, I sold one print this month. And it was, I wouldn't say it was stagnant, but it grew very slowly for like the first year. And my mom was very worried. She'd always be like, do you need me to send some money? Or like, do you want to move back home? And I'm like, no, mom, I can do this on my own. I made sure to always like support myself. I actually was really good at budgeting. I'm like, okay, I have like 3 years left before I run out of money.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to prove to her that she doesn't need to like have to spend extra or do extra just to support my decision. Because I had been financially independent from my family for several years, and I didn't want to like make them pay for me again. It's almost like I was ashamed. I was like, no, you don't have to do that. So, but then I think around like the year and a half-ish mark of being a full-time artist, I started to see real growth in like social media and in my monthly income. After finding out different ways to earn money, like YouTube and Patreon. I used to do primarily my stuff on Instagram, which Instagram is great. It's a really great platform for artists, but you don't get paid per view on Instagram.
Yeah.
And not all of your followers are going to want to buy stuff from you.
Hard to directly monetize.
Yeah, very, very hard. So once I started using other platforms, it kind of got the ball rolling, and Instagram also picked up. And when she saw that I had grown in follower count, like she saw that as a good sign. So when I reached, I don't know, like 50,000 followers, she's like, whoa! She's like, hey, like, you're actually making a footprint like in this industry a little bit, you know. She's like, oh, even though 50,000 in the Instagram scale is like nothing, but to us at the time, I was like, yeah, like maybe something's happening. So she slowly started to.
So she was following your career this whole time.
She was, yeah. She'd call me and be like, you need to answer this comment. Someone asked you a question you didn't answer. She'd like read all my comments.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, she's super cute.
What drives you crazy about your mom?
Oh my gosh. She changes her mind a lot. Yeah.
How so?
She, I don't know. She's very like whimsical, I think. So like, I don't know if we're about to go out, like when she visited me in San Francisco, I had a whole day planned, and she'll be like, oh yeah, let's go here. Actually, I don't want to go here. Like, hey, let's get lunch first. Actually, I want to take a nap first. And then like but then because she changes her mind a lot, you can also change her mind for her. And so she's in that way kind of flexible, you know, like. She doesn't have to stick to any solid plan. She's kind of like in the moment. She's like, okay, I'm tired. I'm going to go home, even if we had something planned. But then if she's in the moment, you're like, okay, well, let's go to eat like Ethiopian food instead of Chinese food. She's pretty cool about that.
How's mom with boyfriends?
She's very funny. She actually let me date in high school, which usually strict Chinese moms don't. She let me date in high school.
Oh, is that uncommon? I didn't realize.
Yeah, it's not very common.
I did not know that. I don't know a lot about strict Chinese moms. So
but she's very clever about it. She's like, well, I knew that you and your boyfriend are not compatible, so I wanted you to like figure it out for yourself instead of me telling you, because then like I guess she didn't want me going to college not knowing how to date. So yeah, I was like, my first boyfriend, I broke up after like a month, and she was like, the whole time she knew, she's like, I knew you guys would break up. I just wanted to let you make the mistake on your own with like, of course, like my overseeing it. So yeah, she's very smart about that. She's okay with me dating. She's actually more open, I think, than a lot of my friends' moms. A lot of my Chinese girlfriends, like, their parents don't like it if they date people from other nationalities or anything like that. So people keep it a secret a lot from their mom. But I've always been very open with her. So yeah,
So your mother appreciates honesty.
She does, I think. Yeah, I think she'd rather know and be like shocked by my decision than not know. You know.
Do you have any idea? You're a very young person. Do you have any idea if you ever want to be a parent?
I think eventually, yeah. I'm not going to rule it out. Right now, I'm like very agnostic on that front too. Like just like I am in most issues. I think like right now I don't have a desire to have kids in the foreseeable future, but I also know that as I age and grow and mature, I might have different goals and different needs in life. Just like how when I was 18, I didn't have a need to do certain things that I'm doing now, you know? So yeah, I think pretty good possibility I'll be a parent.
So if that happens, what about your mother will make you a better mother?
Oh, I think like, I don't even know if she realized this, but she was a really good role model. Like not even in terms of her parenting skills. I mean, she's a very nurturing mom, but just the kind of person she was really shaped the kind of person I wanted to be. Like it was extremely, I think, rare and really like fortunate that I got to grow up in a household where the woman was the main breadwinner, which like in America, even to this day, is not that common. And in China, definitely wasn't common. And it kind of made me, it gave me this sense of like, you don't have to follow any rules or fit any molds. Like you can create your own path and you don't have to live by what people expect of you, you know? And so it was really funny that in the beginning when she was afraid for my art career, I was like, but I'm just doing what you did, Mom. Like I took a risk like you. Yeah. So yeah, I think she instilled with me that sense of courage.
That's cool.
So yeah, I think if I were to have a child, I would not only try to parent them, but also like make sure I'm the type of person that they could look up to. Yeah.
That's lovely. If if your kid calls you after they've graduated with their software engineering degree and tells you they're going to be a dancer in New York, what's going to be the first thought in your head? Go for it, or are you sure?
I think having been through that myself, I would be like, well, it's going to be tough, right? Like you have to be prepared. You're probably not going to earn much money, or you probably have to like live off of savings or clip coupons or, buy food from like the Asian grocery store. Like I'll definitely tell them what to expect, but I would never discourage them because I know like how amazing it is to do something that makes you happy. It's priceless. So yeah, I would be encouraging.
So your mom's life's been a series of adventures. You've been along for a lot of them. What's your mom's next great adventure?
Ooh, I don't know. She's doing like a rental home business right now that she loves.
Oh.
So maybe that. So Alaska is a great destination for tourists. So she's starting to make some vacation homes and renting it out to tourists, and she loves it. So I think that could be a pretty big thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I think that'll probably wrap up this part of the interview. Then thank you so much for talking about your mother and this incredible story of I had no idea we were going to go down this track. I didn't realize that you'd emigrated to the United States.
Yeah.
I thank you for sharing all this.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
So before we transition into the next part of the show, I want to thank our Patreon producers, Xavier Saint-Amand Tremblay and Robert Nieder, whose generous support makes the show possible, and also all of you who give on Patreon, because it helps a lot at patreon.com/Jared Petty. Also the YouTube subscribers, the various members of the Pockets Full of Soup Facebook group, etc. Everybody who's watching, listening, leaving a rating on iTunes, 5 stars is always the correct rating. And written reviews help even more. We have this part every show. You know why? Because it really helps. So thank you guys so much. Ladies, gentlemen, your patronage matters, and lets me keep doing this thing I really enjoy. So thank you. Now, are you ready for instant noodles?
Yes.
This is our lightning round in Pockets Full of Soup. All right,
I didn't even prepare, so I'll give very honest answers.
Done. All right. This is a user submitted question.
Okay.
What is best sandwich?
Oh, BLT.
BLT. Mm-hmm. Straight BLT?
Yes.
Okay. Mayo or no mayo?
Mayo.
Toasted or
toasted?
White wheat, rye?
Wheat.
Okay, so toasted wheat with mayo, bacon, lettuce, and tomato.
Yes.
We have never gotten the same answer to this question twice. So excellent.
Nice.
Still on that streak. I'm very excited about it. What's the first word that comes to your head when you hear the sound of your own voice?
Ew.
Ew.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the answer. All right. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Plain vanilla.
Plain vanilla.
Not bean, not like vanilla bean, just plain vanilla from I think Tillamook, like just plain vanilla.
Just straight vanilla, right there. Now, do you like the nice fancy vanilla, or do you like McDonald's vanilla?
McDonald's vanilla, yeah.
Okay, just
plainer
straight,
the better.
Okay, the plainer the better.
It used to be like Rocky Road or something crazy, but lately I've I just love plain chips, plain vanilla, plain everything.
Just on a plain cake.
Yeah.
All right.
Plain cake, yeah.
Plain cake.
Yeah.
Okay, plain cake. Just everything plain. All things plain. No sugar in the cake.
Yes.
Just eat it straight up. What's your favorite word?
My favorite word?
Yeah.
Probably like the F word. I cuss a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so that's your favorite word.
Yeah. You can use it. You can put it in between words. You can say it to be happy. You can say it to be mad. Say it to be sad.
It's extraordinarily versatile.
It's a very versatile word. Yeah. Very expressive.
It's a popular choice.
Yeah.
We get that one a lot. Actually. Yeah. But it is very versatile. Do you like it compounded or do you prefer it on its own?
I actually like it like the FFFU, like almost like the Reddit subreddit, like the F7U12. Yeah, like fuh. Yeah. I don't even need to say the whole thing.
You just part of it. It's enough.
It's a great outlet. Yeah.
All right, it's a marvelous word. Let's see. If you could travel through time and meet any one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Michael Jackson.
There we go. If you finally met Michael Jackson, what would you want to talk to Michael Jackson about?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I'd probably like soil myself. I don't even know what I'd say to him. I'd probably like shake his hand and just tell him that he's perfect the way he is and he doesn't need to worry about anything anyone says, and that like he has made the life of some kid in communist China so much better.
So through thick and thin, you remained a fan the whole time.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson.
To this day, huge fan, diehard
big fan of Michael Jackson. What's the best Michael Jackson song?
Oh my God, there's so many. Okay, I really like Earth Song from his History album.
Earth Song?
Yeah.
You may be the only person on earth whose favorite Michael Jackson song is Earth Song, but that's That's a bold move, Cotton. Right there. All right. Now, why your song?
It.
Why your song?
Okay, so I mean, I love all the hits, but since I'm a diehard Michael Jackson fan, I know all of his songs, all the albums. Earth Song, the chorus sounds like he's crying. And so for those of you who haven't heard it, it's like a song basically about like, what have we done to the world? Like we've like destroyed the earth with like pollution and war, and it's kind of almost like a requiem for like the earth, and it's just one of the most genuinely beautiful and sad, and like it's like a sobbing. Like the chorus, he sounds like he's sobbing for just how much we've destroyed the earth, and I just love that passion in the song, I guess.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
If you could pick a voice to narrate your life, who would it be? Whose voice narrates it?
Squidward tentacles.
That's a really great pick. That's marvelous.
I mean, how can you have a bad day with Squidward tentacles?
Narrating your life.
And then she made a sandwich.
Who was your first kiss?
Ooh, ew. This guy didn't even like in high school.
Didn't even like in high school?
He was gross, yeah.
How was the kiss?
It's terrible. I think he kissed like my nose, like right here.
Oh, like he missed your mouth?
Yeah. I didn't want to kiss him. He like he force kissed me. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I
no.
know. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, how about this? What was your first kiss you actually wanted to happen?
A long time later, after I've been kissed many times.
Okay. And how was that one? Was it okay?
It's good.
It was okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of these first kiss stories are amazing.
Yeah. Good kissers are rare. It's not a common thing.
But your first kiss was a guy that's like, Rah.
Yeah, just like high school. You have stupid kids.
Oh, man. Well, that's no fun. No good there at all. What's the what's the greatest song written in the last 100 years?
Earth Song?
Is that your all-time favorite song?
It's one of my favorites. Okay, but honestly, if you say written, because I feel like a lot of it has to do with the lyrics. I'm a huge Leonard Cohen fan.
Oh.
So I really like Dance Me to the End of Love by Leonard Cohen.
Dance Me to the End of Love by Leonard Cohen.
That's probably the most beautiful, well-written song I could think of.
That's a really neat pick. I like that one.
I love that song.
So Dance Me to the End of Love. If you could pick a soundtrack to play whenever you walked into a room, what would your soundtrack be?
I think it would be the Love soundtrack from the Cirque du Soleil show for the Beatles.
The Beatles Love? Oh
yes,
my gosh.
the Beatles Love. Yeah.
Oh, no kidding. That's rad. Okay,
Yeah.
well, you score points with me right there.
Huge Beatles fans too. Huge Beatles fan too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So the most terrifying creature in the natural world?
Humans.
Humans. Oh, you're the second one to pick that.
Yeah.
All right. What makes humans so terrifying?
I think humans, especially this generation of not this generation, but like modern day humans, I think we have stopped experiencing the world. Like we are living in like this not just social media, but like in our devices almost. And it's crazy how little like stimulation we get from the actual natural world. And I feel like to be a part of this earth, to be like a member of the animal kingdom, like every other animal knows at least how to experience the world. And I feel like we've forgotten how to experience the world. So I think that's kind of scary. That's very unnatural.
Can that be changed?
I think so. I thought Pokemon Go was a really good, it was a glimmer of hope. I was like, oh my God, people are like on their devices, but they're going out and exploring the world.
And meeting people and seeing things. Yeah. I wrote a little thing for IGN about Pokemon Go when that happened. And because it made me care about Pokemon, which is something I'd never, ever cared anything about before. But it was that element of it. I could not think of another time in my life where a video game made people go out and meet other people in real life. And the fact that everybody, the fact that the Squirtle I saw was the Squirtle you saw when you were standing in a different place, and we were both experiencing that same reality. That was extraordinary. And I think even though that game is busted as all, I still love it for that.
Batteries suck too.
Yeah. Oh, it's awful at batteries. Have you seen the big Pokeballs you can buy?
No, I saw this phone case you can buy that makes you have the perfect swipe to catch all the Pokemon.
I've seen those. Yeah. No, they're selling giant USB batteries that are shaped like Pokeballs. So you plug your phone into it and carry it around, and they don't run out of power because it's such a battery drain. So, how's your Pokemon Go collection?
I do not have any. I had caught maybe like 2.
Okay. So
I just love the concept. And I myself am not immune from the plight of human beings. I'm not like excluding myself or saying I'm any better, but yeah, like I myself fall victim to that, like living in a cyber world. So that's kind of why also it terrifies me. It's a personal thing too.
Like the cyber world you're watching or listening to this on right now. For more on that, patreon.com/Jared.
Yeah, follow me on all my social media handles. No.
But no, it is. I mean, it is part of it. But a powerful dichotomy exists there. It's difficult to escape from. Up until I moved back to the States in 2011, I didn't carry a cell phone. I just refused to because I was being frustrated by a lot of this, and I reached a point where career-wise, it was carry one or don't have a job.
Yeah,
And
exactly. You're tied to it.
Yeah, it was a very hard thing.
And I think back many decades ago, people were like, "Oh, turns out tobacco's bad for you. We didn't know that. Haha." Like we didn't know that smoking was like fatal until people had been smoking for a really long time. And I feel like internet addiction is going to be like this, like decades into the future. People are like, "Hey, actually, being online so much is actually really bad for you."
Well, we can see ways it's bad already. The very fact that it allows us to be controlled so easily.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that we can choose our own version of reality. I if I want to, I can find one tunnel vision to support a universe that I want to exist, and I can find enough sources out there to agree with me that I never have to listen to anyone else.
Exactly. You can always find people who agree with you, even if your viewpoint is like really off.
Yeah. And forcing that more holistic lifestyle. Well, anyway.
Anyways, okay.
This
You're
is
supposed
us.
to be noodle around.
No, it's good. I love these kinds of tangents.
Yeah.
It's good. Cake or pie?
Cake.
Cake. White cake.
Plain white cake.
Plain white cake. Again, we're back to that plain thing.
With
Okay.
plain white frosting.
All right.
Yes.
So plain white cake, plain vanilla. Is there anything that you just feel? What in life? What is your indulgence? What's your hedonistic indulgence then? What's something where
Actually, yeah, the cake thing, I changed it. It's carrot cake.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
But like the really nicely made artisan kind with like chunks of carrot and like chunks of raisin.
Okay.
And the frosting is like basically a cheesecake.
I like when the frosting is a cheesecake.
Yeah, when you could
that
just
is freaking best.
scrape out the frosting and make a cheesecake out of it. I love it.
What's the most wonderful piece of art you've ever created?
Ooh, that's tough. I think I always end up liking recent pieces because I feel like they have the skill wise I've improved more than the older pieces. But yeah, I really like. Can I?
Of course. Yeah, that's okay.
I actually really like this one. This one here.
Bring it up. That's your favorite?
I don't know if it's like the most amazing piece of art created in terms of like time or whatever, because it's small, but it's my favorite. Yeah.
I love the ship. That's
thank
lovely.
you.
Oh my goodness. Why the sailing vessel?
I think I just wanted to give a size reference to how big the woman was, or the goddess is.
Okay.
Yeah. So having a little ship. I also I wanted to evoke a feeling of like kind of like an ancient like Norse myth or something like that with this, like some like benevolent sea goddess who watches over the sailors as they head out to sea.
So she's benevolent. She's not about to eat them or anything.
She's not gonna eat them.
Okay.
No.
All right. She looks pretty chill. I was
Yeah,
thinking.
she's like I'm gonna just give you a little like I'm just gonna like give you a little wind, set you off on your way.
What's this one called?
This is called Nocturne.
Nocturne.
Yeah.
Thank you for showing that off.
Thank
and
you.
Final question. I always end up with this one. What's one question you want to ask me?
Ooh,
What's one question you got for me?
I actually wanted to ask you more about your time in Chattanooga.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been through Chattanooga a few times. So I grew up in North Carolina, and I've spent a lot of time in Kentucky, but I've come to Chattanooga at several phases of life. I was through there as a kid when I was living in North Carolina, and I went camping down near that area. Then I went camping. I went camping around Chickamauga up at the battlefield in Georgia, and then down to Lookout Mountain, and that took me around.
Lookout
Yeah,
Mountain.
exactly. So my first time through there was on a long, extended camping trip. Also, I'm a gigantic nerd, and I'm an American Civil War buff. There was a
Yeah.
the siege of Chattanooga was fought there, so I went and did the whole
Yes.
battlefield thing and did that there. But then I used to travel through there a lot because I had family in Alabama. And I would go back and forth through there a great deal on that, and just on trips through the mountains there in that part of the country growing up. And then when I got back to the States, I got a job traveling throughout the Southeast, repairing 911 centers. For a while,
okay.
I was a network administrator, and a lot of my trips took me through Chattanooga there. And if I had extra time, I would just stop. I would stop and do all kinds of weird things. I'd stop at the battlefields. I'd stop at and go shopping. I had a thing for arcade machines for a while. There was a great arcade machine depot in Chattanooga. I would stop there. So I've probably been to Chattanooga. I can't even count the times.
Yeah.
And it's been over the course of like decades that I
Nice.
keep going
Have
back.
you seen it change? I guess I wanted to ask, like, is it better now? Like, is it?
The last time
Do
I
they
was in
spank kids
Chattanooga,
still?
I can't speak to that part of the culture. It's an economically depressed part of the country
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
more than it was when you were there, even.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I don't think I can't speak as an expert to the state of
Right.
industry in Chattanooga, but when I was there, it had taken a pummeling, so
yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go back and visit and kind of check up on it.
You should go.
Yeah.
You should go back. Chattanooga fans, let us know. How are
Yeah.
things in Chattanooga
Yeah.
right now?
It was my first home, so.
Yeah. The face of the American Southeast is changing a lot, and it was that, when you were talking about when you were there only having one other student from Asia and this was an Asian American student that had grown up in the States.
Yeah.
I grew up in a small town in North Carolina, but we had a huge population of Hmong people that had immigrated over after Vietnam there, even in this little southern town, and a large Hispanic population that's grown even since. The South is diversifying quite a bit as people move out, and things are definitely getting a little more a little more interesting community wise, and I'm happy for that.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's changed in a lot of ways. But thanks for asking. That's how. Yeah. But yeah, that's how I know Chattanooga is. I grew up not too far away. I had family not far away. I wanted to go see Civil War stuff. I liked arcade machines, and I traveled there for work a lot.
Okay,
so
awesome.
There's the answer. Yeah. So thank you for asking, and thank you guys for watching, listening, at all, etc. Until next time, this is Pockets Full of Soup. Once again, happy D artist. Yes. And what are all the magical places people can find you?
Oh my gosh, you can find me anywhere. Instagram, YouTube, Patreon. All my handles are Happy D Artist, all one word. And if you want to check out my website, it's happyd-artist.com.
All right.
Yes.
And for everybody who has a mother who loves you and who you love, say hi to him today, if you will. Until next time, any mail at pocketsfullofsoup.com, and bye-bye.